Get stage right.
Thank you for you all coming. Chris, for showing up. We appreciate you coming. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of introduce you a little bit more detail to the life business and how the life business operates. It's really kind of exciting for us because we're just 2.5 years old, and already we're seeing tremendous growth. In fact, tonight, as I told you, up north of Atlanta, up in Vinings, they're doing another house plan, and they've got like 10 or 12 people there, from what I understand. So he's our mentor that's showing the plan, Chris Allen. So we're trying to expedite this so we can take care of you. But the life business, basically, it's an education business. And the cool thing about that is that it produces life-changing information that we need to grow and to improve our own lives. And what the whole goal and mission of life leadership is to build a community of men and women with integrity and character that want to learn and grow. And as we learn and grow, we help others to learn and grow. And we have these 8 different categories, and we call them the 8 F's. And it's called faith, family, finance, fitness, following, which is like mentorship, freedom, friends, and fun. Of course, you got to have a little bit of fun in life. You can't be all serious all the time. And I'm sure we can all think about people that we know that are probably struggling in 1, 2, or 3 of these different areas. Finance is a big one. I think most of us can relate to struggling in finance. I know for us, when Chris Allen and Lyndon Bell showed me the plan, I was really struggling in finances. My faith was really struggling, and my family was struggling, because when you have financial issues, it affects your family. You take things out on your family, so that's a really big thing there. But the nice thing is that we produces life-changing information in these 8 different categories. So if you want to hone in on friends or freedom, or you want to work on mentorship or finance, you can hone in on that particular category itself. Come on in. Come in. Gary's here. I'm just getting started, just getting warmed up. So, like I say, that's the 8 different categories that we have for the life business. And what we do, we put this information in forms of audio CDs, books, webinars. We have seminars also that we do in major conventions. We also have a program called Rascal Radio, which is like Pandora. It's streaming leadership information, and you can dive into any one of these categories. And you can pick finance, or you can pick, fun, and you can listen to different audios right from your phone, whether it's a Droid or it's an iPhone. So it's a pretty cool thing. And the way this happened, it got started. 2 of the founders, Chris Brady and Warren Woodward, were efficiency engineers at GM. And they sat there and they had the big dream, the American dream. They had mortgages, they had car payments, they were struggling at life, and they were spending more money than they were making. So there's got to be a better way. And they picked up a book by Robert Kiyosaki called The Cash Flow Quadrant. And when Lyndon and Chris showed me this as a business, since I'm a small business owner, it was a sock in the gut. Because for 20-something years, I'd been doing things the wrong way. And it really woke me up. And basically what he says, there are 4 legal ways for us to make money. You can be an employee, or you can be self-employed. You can be a business owner or an investor. An investor we won't really talk about, because an investor is someone who loses $250,000 and not miss a lunch, not worry about it. I'm about 249,000 short of that. So we won't talk about the investor. But let's start over here on the left-hand side. E stands for employee. Employees, basically, we trade time for money. We go and we work someplace, and we get paid for our time, and we trade out time for money. Eventually, some of us get the bug that, well, maybe we know a little bit more than our boss. Maybe we can do things a little bit better, more efficient. We know a better way to do it. So we become self-employed. I started my advertising and marketing business because I was tired of working for people that I didn't think did a good job, compromised on integrity, and so I wanted to be self-employed. And self-employed just means now I own the job. I have the stress. Everybody in my business gets paid before I get paid. Before I bring home money for my family, I've got to pay my contractors, my employees, my vendors, I got to pay for everything. So that I didn't know. I even read a book called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, where he talks about the problem with self-employed people is that you can't replace me. There's only one TJ. There's only one Chris, only one Gary. I mean, we're all one person, so we can't be replaced. And so thus we have to own the job. We're not there, we're not making money. If you're not waiting tables, you're not going to get paid. If Rachel doesn't work, she doesn't get paid. So that's the problem with self-employed. Well, on this side over here, the B, that's for a business owner. And the business owner is like a franchisor. It's a person that uses a system, okay? And instead of them having to do the work, they have a system in place that works for them to generate income. So that's like, you know, McDonald's. You and I go open a great hamburger store right next to McDonald's and have great hamburgers. We cook them on our egg. They can be phenomenal. But I'm still trading time for dollars, whereas McDonald's and Burger King over there have a system in place. And they're just spitting out hamburgers 24/7. I can't keep up. I can't compete. So they leverage a system over here. We already talked about the investor. So big thing what we want to do is we want to be able to get over to this side of the equation over here. We want to be over here. And the only way we get over there is we have to have the right information. We have information. And if we have that, we can learn about coming over here and creating a system. And that system will then generate systematic income or a pipeline, eventually create a pipeline income. And over here, this is what killed me. When I heard this, it broke my heart. Over here, 95% of us are over here, which means, obviously with our math as good as we are, 5% of the population is over on that side, the right-hand side. And unfortunately, 5% of the wealth over here is split up between 95% of the people. So there's not a whole lot of money over here because we're trading time for money. And there's we only have 24 hours in the day. There's only one of us, so we can only work so much. And over here, we're splitting that up. 95% of it are splitting up 5%. So we want to get over here where there's 95% of the wealth. And the way we do that is through information. And we found out that, you know, if you go to college for 4 years, 5 years, that's a long time that you got to learn school. Or you go to trade school and you learn to trade. You get lots of information spread out. Well, adults, we learn better in little bits and pieces of information. So that's what's really cool about the life business is that we break it into little bite-sized chunks, monthly stuff. But the cash flow quadrant, what's cool about that is these guys, Chris and Orrin went through, they studied that and worked real hard at it. And they started saying, okay, if we can create a system that can help us to generate more income, that's a better way for us to make money. So they went out and studied. They started back in the early 90s, started studying how to create system and franchises like Ray Kroc. And as they went through, what they started to do is they started to realize that if we were taught to define, learn, and do, and define what it is that you want out of life, and what they did was they sat down and said, okay, what is it that we want to do? We want to learn how to generate a system. So they went out and studied systems and franchises and how to do that. And then they went out and learned from the people that had the fruit on the tree, the people that were already having success at it. And then they went out and emulated that. So the cool thing about that is that we all have dreams. And I don't know about you guys, but I mean, how many of us would like to give more to our churches, more to charities? Would love to be able to support mission trips and things like that. It gives us more opportunities to do more things. And you know, there's more church people want to have more money to be able to do things for charity and church. They also want to be able to travel, go out and see family, spend more time. You know, how do you spell love? Love is T-I-M-E. If you think about it, I mean, you want to spend time with your family and your friends. Especially as we get older, our relatives get older and we want to spend more time, we need to. There's also security, which is kind of an interesting, what is security? And security, is it having money set aside, or is it to be able to have the freedom to do whatever you want when you want to? And of course, there's family. You know, you want to be able to spend more time with family, and if you're working all the time and you can't trade out, you got to be able to do something. Of course, another big thing that people want is to be debt-free. You know, if we're sitting here right now and we think about if our life was debt-free right now, what would that mean to us? What could we do different? What would we do different? Would you wake up at the alarm clock? Would you sleep in a little bit? I know my kids would like to sleep a little later. And if you didn't have debt, you were debt-free, and you were making the income that you're currently making, life would change a little bit. Of course, we talked about time. If you're generating money systematically, you can get back some of your time, because then you're not having to go in and earn the income. So we're replacing ourselves. What do you think most people do? You have this big one circle over here, and most of us have this income over here. And my income when I started here was probably a tiny little dot. It wasn't very big, but I had a big one circle. So I already had credit card debt. So what do you think I did? I maximized my credit card, trying to get what I wanted, and then eventually what I had to do is I had to shrink my one circle and make it smaller to fit my little income. And then we had private school and things like that we had to pay for. So we were shrinking our one circle. And what the whole premise of the life business is that we're trying to get you to keep your one circle big and grow your income so that your income circle matches your dreams, your goals, which helps us to live the life that we've always wanted. Instead of shrinking our dreams to match our income, we're trying to grow our income so we can have the dreams that we want, so we can spend more time with family, so we can help our charities. I mean, wouldn't it be cool to go into, you're into a restaurant and you see the little thing up on the wall and it says, someone has cancer, and they're trying to raise $10,000 or $20,000. Wouldn't it be nice just to anonymously just drop a check in? That's what the life business helps us to do. That kind of leads me to this next part, which is really cool. Chris Brady and Orton Wood went and heard Michael Dell speak back in 1999. And Michael Dell at the time was the youngest billionaire under the age of 40. So it's a little while ago. And he was there at the Detroit Economic Conference, and he was speaking, and he talked about these 3 C's, and they're called Michael Dell's 3 C's. And what was really interesting about it, he kind of said this, and he said, we're moving out of the industrial age, where we have jobs, we go 9 to 5 when we go to work, we have career jobs, we stay there. We already know that now that a person can have, 6, 7, 8 different career changes in their life now, versus 2 or 3 different jobs. So we're moving out of the industrial age into the information age. And he said this back in 1999, he said, we're going to actually pay for information. And that was revolutionary back then. And he said, you got to have content, commerce, and community. And he drew this dotted line here. And he said, the most important element over here is this community. Because if you own a community, you're going to be able to control and be very successful and guaranteed success. And of course, this was back before Facebook, before Apple took off. In fact, we heard last Tuesday that Michael Dell wasn't even aware he'd forgotten about this. Because the big thing was community, and of course Apple figured out that community. When the iPhone comes out, the new iPhone, there are lines hours long waiting for the new iPhone. And it's not because the iPhone's necessarily a great device, it's that Apple created this community of unity where they're all thinking they all want the same things. Okay, they're all interested in pretty much the similar things. So he built this community. Now, the interesting thing is, if you think about Facebook, I don't know, are all y'all on Facebook? Are you on Facebook? Most of us are on Facebook. We didn't get any money for that, okay? That's a non-compensated community, but we helped build that, but we didn't get paid for that. And what Michael Dell is saying, if you can build a community of people like-minded, then you have something, you have a captive audience. So he said in the information age, what we want to be able to do is we want to have great content. And that's got to be world-class. It's got to be good. I mean, if you don't have good content, you're not going to be able to survive. But if you have good content and you have a way to move it over the internet to a community of people,